Okay, and we should be live. So, welcome to the stream. We are right now talking about Hurricane Irma, which is probably the most dangerous hurricane the United States has seen within this decade. So, this is a pretty crazy storm. It's rivaling Harvey. Here it is right now. Here is the Doppler radar of the storm. It the radar is not exactly current at this time. It will be here very soon though. So don't worry about that. The radar is going to fix itself up here any minute now. And when it does fix itself, that'll be a good thing. This is experimental, the version of radar that I'm trying to use right now. And that's why it's kind of struggling sometimes. Here we are though with the current radar. You can see there that this is the current hurricane. This is what the U.S. has been having to deal with. And its eye wall is really starting to deteriorate. You can see right there. And unfortunately, I don't have the normal microcasting radar today. And that is actually because of, unfortunately, the fact that I forgot to bring the machine that has microcasting radar over to the current location that I am in. So I just whipped up this version. This is using windy.com. So I'm really just not even using my own software at this point because I don't have it at this point. So I'm just getting ready to really dive deep into Hurricane Irma because, well, Irma is going to be a pretty crazy tropical system as it does continue on its march towards Florida. It will be making landfall here very soon, and there you go. You can see it's going right back to where it was before. I'm almost tempted to just go to a different radar. But here's what the weather models are saying right now, what's going on. So I guess right now we'll show the future track of this tropical system because it's going to be bad no matter where it goes. So here we are now with the current track. Zoom out for you, and there you go. So here's what we got. We've got this thing headed up and just dumping a ton of rain here on the U.S., and this is according to the ECMWF, of course. You can actually see St. Louis, which is around where I live, hence the name Microcasting St. Louis. That's going to be where there could be a problem. So I guess we can also just go through analysis of the current storm information of the storm floater. So here's what we got right now. The storm is about to make landfall in Florida any day now. It'll be making landfall. And so here, let me just open that up. But here's the storm. It's going to be headed up and probably going to make landfall very shortly. So here it is. The storm's going up and continuing its rage into Florida. I'm thinking it's going to be taking, especially because of the land interaction, the way it's going to affect the eye wall, and the eye's going to probably take a westward wobble there. That's just my prediction, though, with it. We'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, this is a very bad situation for the state of Florida and the United States of America. Florida's already gotten a lot of devastation from this, and here fairly soon I will be pulling up some graphics just to give you more details on what exactly is going on here. Getting into, let's just do some track guidance. So this is what the models are saying when it comes to forecast tracks. So they're expecting it to track up in this general direction. This is my personal forecast, is that it's probably going to do something like this. But I'm thinking it's going to go 24, 48, and then around 72 we're going to be around this area. And then I think it's going to go post-tropical, which is why you don't see anything in the future before it does turn this way. Although it could have its legacy live on and go this way and go back out and become a tropical system again. That is a possibility. We'll just have to see what does happen there. But yeah, if you do have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer those. So first of all, let's just get right into the forecast track. So the forecast track is looking pretty darn interesting. So let me just get this pulled up completely. There you go. But this is really the forecast track at this current moment. Of what you can basically, of where you can basically expect the system to go. And you can see that all there. You can also see the power outage graphic as well. And if we just zoom into that, here's basically what we're looking at. We're looking at it right now. Widespread power outages throughout the state of Florida. And then we also have common and isolated power outages in other areas of the United States. It just does depend on really where you are expecting this to go. But still, this is a very, very, very bad and devastating hurricane. And this will continue to probably be a nasty and devastating hurricane throughout most, if not the rest of its life, due to the fact that just the harsh reality that this just isn't going to be going anywhere anytime soon. So here's the power outages. Here's Irma's storm surge, and here are the watches and warnings. And here's the forecast track, and here are also the current stats. So yeah, the current stats there are very, very interesting. So if I actually get those current stats. There you go. You can now see the current storm status on the lower right side of your screen, and you'll be able to see that. I'll be updating all of these graphics top of the hour each hour until around noon or so. That'll be probably when I stop streaming. But here is the here's the main premise of this. If we go to the intensity guidance, here's what we're seeing. At about 24 hours time, this is going to be when it's over Tampa. I'm expecting it to be at around this model consensus right here, which would be anywhere from a high-end Category 1 to a high-end Category 2. Now, I would personally expect it because more models are in there, and just the way the intensity is just knocked off consistently, and the HWFI's lack of accuracy, as well as the H-minis, I would go with a Category 2 possibility. Although the ships are going very, very aggressively, but that's not going to happen. It's going to be right around this. Yeah, in 24 hours time, probably a Category 2, 48 hours time, tropical storm, in 72, I think it's going to be a post-tropical cyclone. Yeah, if you do have any questions or comments, please let me know, and I will be more than happy to answer those. Getting back to windy, let's get to the waves, because this is what a lot of people are probably worried about. We're going to be using the CMWF due to its higher accuracy, and just how dire these circumstances are beginning to get. So I'm just going to use that to make things easier. So you can see those massive waves down to the south, and you can see how those waves, because these storms do rotate counterclockwise, the waves are coming off of here and coming up to here. So then why am I and other meteorologists saying, if the waves are moving off the coast and these waves are moving onto Miami, why isn't Miami getting the highest storm surge, and why is Florida going to? Because the storm will weaken once the eye goes over land, therefore making these waves much smaller. Well, that's not going to happen. If you see, if I can show you the CMWF here, you can see now those high waves. These are all very high waves, slamming straight into like Cape Coral. We have Tampa right here, not getting much waves right now. And then, as this does head up, you're still seeing pretty big waves, waves of up to 21 feet, although up along the coastline, you are beginning to see a little bit of a lesser thing with about 8-foot waves. Still, those are higher waves and can still be dangerous. And then the storm's just going dead up the coast. Now, I guess for a short period of time, we can talk about Jose. Hurricane Jose is very interesting. It's going to make a loop-de-loop around in the next 5 days. And where it's going to go is going to be interesting. So, what they're expecting here is a parallel to the East Coast. Now, if we go to the GFS, GFS is expecting a much more intense hurricane here off of the coast of this, while they are showing a post-tropical cyclone on the ECMWF up near New Hampshire, missing New York. Still, though, that is very interesting stuff on Jose. Now let's get back to Irma. Irma, just really ramping up here. The NAM is a very high resolution weather model, and we're going to use wind gust because it does more accurately represent the current intensity of the system. So they're expecting very powerful winds to head in there, and then they're expecting this will be around the Category 2 hurricane intensity before Irma does go inland and just begin to die off. So you can see those tropical storm force winds really spreading out. And then you can see those winds just beginning to die off. And yeah, that's what we're really expecting with Irma. Irma's a very interesting system and is one that we can look at all the time. Now here is some very interesting satellite imagery. This satellite imagery shows really 1 minute imagery. This is 1 minute imagery, so every single minute this satellite imagery updates. But here's what you can see from this. You can see that Irma's rotation is very clear within here, which means that we do have a stronger hurricane. You can see the eye here trying to clear out. It's probably not going to due to all the land interaction that it's already facing itself with. The western side is really weakening because, and still weakened because of Cuba. You can see the wind shear as well on the storm. You can see the storms, the clouds moving south and the storms clouds moving east, and the storm clouds moving southeast. And then you can also see that probably already hurricane conditions are within this. This is probably the field of current hurricane conditions. Something like that. Maybe something more like this is the hurricane conditions and the tropical storm conditions expanding throughout quite a bit of Florida. Those tropical storm conditions are going to continue, and Lake Okeechobee, I think is the name of it. This lake is going to be headed straight, and very strong winds are going to batter this neighborhood because those winds are going to be able to re-strengthen due to this not being land but water, which will cause very catastrophic damage to places around here. Still, though, I am very surprised that it did take this westward turn, and now this 140 mile per hour Category 4 hurricane is headed up and almost ready to hit. Here is the NHC's current forecast for the system. Still giving it winds of 130 miles an hour, but still that is a Category 4. You can see those tropical storm force winds there, and you can see as this heads up where this is expected to go. It's just not a good situation. They're not expecting this to remain a major hurricane for too much longer, but this is going to start moving much faster as time does go on. So this is 24, 48, 72, 96 hours out. They're only expecting this to last for about 96 more hours. But this system is just nuts. You can see the hurricane warnings everywhere, the tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches, as this just does head up, and it is just very unfortunate what we're having to see here. Here is CMISS. This is a website that I use quite a bit. Here's Hurricane Irma, and if we take a good look at this, here's what I see. I see the Category 4 system. There it is, 115 knots, a minimal Category 4. They're expecting it to be a Category 3 at this landfall point, although I do think it's going to make a landfall a little bit farther eastward up here, which will cause it to weaken a little faster. So I would expect it to take something like this in the cone of uncertainty. which is very, very interesting to me. Getting into intensity, it's saying up to 145 miles an hour. That's why I gave it 140. Here's microwave imagery. Microwave imagery is looking also kind of okay. We can see these two kind of remainders of an eye wall, but this isn't really a full eye wall anymore. The organization is really lacking within this system due to the fact that it did strike Cuba. But it still is maintaining that category 4 intensity and will then just begin to gradually weaken as it does head up north. So the good news for Florida is that you will not be getting a category 5, but you will be getting a category 4, which is still a very dangerous hurricane. Could Hurricane Irma turn into the Gulf of Mexico? Hyperfire asks. The odds of that are so low at this point. It's probably not going to happen. Here, let me show you. These are actually recon flight information, but if I go to the current storm information, there's Irma, and if I go to the weather models here, I really don't think it's a possibility. Not one model showing it turning into the Gulf of Mexico, and I can actually show you some other information that is going to probably show that this will not turn into the Gulf of Mexico. So if I can take a look, I'm trying to find them. Rapid refresh meso-analysis is where I want to be, and we'll do the 500 millibar jet stream, which basically means it's just super high up in the atmosphere. But here's what we got. We got Hurricane Irma headed up here, which is a problem. But here's why this is not going to happen. First of all, you can see all these H's over here flashing everywhere. Basically, this is just a high pressure system. And what that high pressure system is going to do is it's going to keep this from turning and keeping on going into here. And we have this low, this high up here, and we also have some other high down here. And we also have the Bermuda high over here, and that's the path of least resistance is in between this high and this low, and that's where it's going to want to go. So that is why this will not be turning into the Gulf of Mexico. So now if I do just take a look at the upper air maps, I think this will explain it a little bit better. You can see the temperature bars, but ignore those. Look at these black bars. These are ISO bars, and what these ISO bars do is they show us where the pressure difference is. So the closer the ISO bars are together, the more pressure difference there is. So if I can show you on rapid refresh meso-analysis right here, this is you can see that the isobars are much closer with Irma, meaning very fast wind speeds, than they are with these highs and these other lows. But we have this high up to the north that's going to cause it to turn. We have this high down to the south, this lower level high, and we have this high here, and that's going to take it like this. Now, it could run into St. Louis, to be completely honest with you, but the odds of that are so low at this point that I would not expect that. Getting back to satellite imagery is looking very interesting right now because the system is really starting to blow up in convection, and you can see it right there, that convective burst, and you can also see the eye really starting to tighten up. This could mean that we do have winds of 145 within the system. I can actually take a look at some recon data, and we can see together with what exactly they've gotten in data. So first of all, they're still finding 933 hectopascals there, which is a little bit higher. Higher pressure means it's weakening, which is a very good thing. But now the system's right around up here. So if we have this going out here, and they did probably drop something called a dropson in the eye, that'll give us a pressure here very shortly, and that'll show us really how powerful this system is. But not much other recon data regarding Hurricane Irma, I don't think. Getting into the forecast models, I want to take a look at the GFS, because the GFS model showing this, initializing it kind of good, but they're saying the GFS is still showing deepening up until this landfall here, which is where I kind of expect it to make landfall. I don't expect it to make landfall where the NHC expects, but this is a landfall, so it's at 9:23. There we go. Oops, and you can see here as this does move up and around and up that this system is really just going to not really be that powerful after it's inland. And then we also have Jose. Look at where this takes Jose. This turns Jose into a just as deep, maybe even deeper than Irma in pressure. And you can see those pressure, those isobar things really close to each other, showing very strong winds. And the, gosh darn it, you can see there just the what they're saying, and it's showing it continuing to deepen down to a 915, which is a very strong storm just off the coast, the east coast. And if this were, and if there was a 50-mile difference onto the coast, that would be a catastrophic hurricane. Let's see what the HWRF considers Irma to be. So this is right around where we're at. This thing is about to make landfall, and it's just going to be a problem. So, Hyperfire now asking, what about Jose? Well, I just discussed Jose, so I guess I can go into a little bit more detail about Jose after we finish talking about this part of Irma. So Irma's going to head into the coast, still a hurricane, and continue to be a hurricane, and impact Tennessee, Missouri, and Illinois. And then it's going to just move out. It's not going to be that powerful, though, with a pressure of 1,014 hectopascals. The thing is almost a high-pressure system, which is pretty crazy to think about. But it's still turning counterclockwise, therefore meaning it's low. So getting into more detail about Hurricane Jose's future, here we are now with the system. And you can, there is going to be strengthening here. The higher the pressure, the weaker it is. The lower the pressure, the stronger. And you can see the system weakening here. And then you can see it beginning to strengthen and then weaken again. And then here's where we start to see it rapidly intensify. So this is what I'm primarily worried about with Jose. That it rapidly intensifies up to what this is thinking. Back up to a Category 4 hurricane, which is what it's at right now. I can also show you some satellite imagery of Jose if you would like. Here we go. So this is Jose's current satellite imagery. So you can see here, looking very similar to Irma with that eye. That eye is beginning to collapse, and you can see those cloud tops just waning some. And this northeastern side. Northeastern side. I'm at northwestern side. Really starting to struggle. And the northeastern quadrant, which is right here, is just a problem. It's going to weaken, and it's going to continue to weaken, and that's what we can continue to expect throughout Jose's entire life. Well, not its entire life, but for a lot of its life into the near future. But yeah, it's going to take that loop-de-loop and then go back around and up. Then getting into just a little bit more detail with Jose as well, I'll also take a look at the HMON's thoughts on Irma and then the GFS. And the HMON is showing Irma as a Category 5 at landfall, which is not going to happen. But it does show the thing rapidly weakening as it does head up north. Now getting into Jose. Jose is probably going to be a little bit different of a different story. Here we are. This is where we're like at right now. And then here it is as it weakens. Not even a hurricane for some time. You can see the pressure getting higher there. A tropical storm. Not even a hurricane. And then you can see it starting to be a hurricane again towards the end of this loop. And then getting into the GFS's thoughts on Hurricane Jose. This is about 24 hours from now. And then here's what it's thinking. It's thinking Jose is going to strengthen and then go out to sea and just head up and out by itself. But yeah, the main attraction is Irma currently, so that's what I'm going to get back to. So there it is, the hurricane to end all hurricanes. Well, not the hurricane to end all hurricanes, but you know what I mean. It's a very intense hurricane, and it's going to continue to be this extremely intense hurricane. The system it's nuts just how powerful this thing has gotten, and just how powerful this thing will continue to get. Because it's it's not very often that that you see something like this very powerful hurricane um, bearing down on the United States. Yeah, this thing is bearing down on the United States, and it'll continue to head up the United States. And then here I'm going to just update this 1 minute visible imagery because it's been a lot of minutes here since this has started. My microcasting storm tracker, I apologize, is kind of broken. It's currently 10:25 and it says it's 10:04. So, yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, so here I'm just gonna update this imagery real quick. And for those new watching, here is the current situation. So here's the current forecast for Hurricane Irma, showing this thing as a Category 4 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. And the Category 4 is expected to continue along its journey up the United States coast, back down to a Category 2, though, shortly after it makes landfall, and it'll continue to be some Category 2 hurricane before rapidly weakening. And then here is the power outages. So this is the power outages graphic, and you can see widespread power outages through the main part of the peninsula and then getting into the panhandle. They're going to get common. It's not going to be uncommon for you to see power outages there. It's going to be common to see power outages. It's not going to be quite as widespread, though. It also goes into Georgia and Alabama and then South Carolina. More of Georgia, Alabama, Jacksonville, not Jacksonville, I'm sorry, Mississippi, and then Louisiana, all going to be getting impacts when it comes to power outages from this system. Getting into storm surge, this is going to be catastrophic storm surge that I don't think we're ready for. I don't think that most people were expecting this, especially since the storm had rapidly weakened. I think that this is a huge surprise to a lot of people. It surprises me that the storm surge is still this high. Harvey's storm surge wasn't quite that high. Are there storms like this in the Indian Ocean? Hyperfire asks. Well, I can answer you with this. No, there aren't any now, but if you're talking about in general, there have been storms like this in the Indian Ocean, and but there aren't any right now. So that's good news for them. There actually is a storm, though, in the Western Pacific that could potentially become a problem and become a Category 5 super typhoon. Then after that, let's get into the watches and warnings. The watches and warnings are are kind of interesting. You can see the wind field there. Really large, really large for this storm, and are going to continue to be gigantic because of all the eyewall replacement cycles and just how powerful the storm got. And its annular characteristics are all a reason why. Well, it doesn't have annular characteristics anymore, but all those previous parts of the storm are why it still has that massive wind field and will continue to have that massive wind field until there's a direct landfall. Alright, well that is it for the forecast graphics at this time. And now we can just continue to look at what exactly is going to happen. So I'm going to take a look at the NAM, the NAM, and here it is really currently. This is currently where we're at with the storm according to the NAM, showing it as a strong hurricane. And the NAM is showing this thing headed up and striking and not really weakening that much, being very resilient and weakening rapidly until after it does go inland. Let's go to simulated infrared satellite. I think that'll be very interesting to see how the NAM puts this. Doesn't even show this thing having an eye at the moment, which I find interesting. It does show that eye, though, coming out after landfall, and then it's starting to weaken before it does become a massive post-tropical cyclone. I mean, look at how massive this thing becomes as it does head inland. And then you can also see here a high-pressure system. As you can see that clockwise turn there, that's going to help Irma maintain its intensity if it's under it. But if it's not, which it doesn't look like it's going to be, this high is going to shear Irma from north like this, and will be causing some problems for it. Speaking of wind shear is not a is not doing Irma any favors in maintaining its intensity. It's already struggling, and this wind shear is really starting to get bad and will really become nasty as the system does go inland. These kinds of storms, though, are very resilient to stuff like this, and will probably continue to be very resilient. And then here is just some general imagery of Irma with some radar here. It's all loaded up, and there you go. You can see Irma there on radar, and there it is now with color enhancement. It's not really going to help, so we'll just do that. But here it is. This is Hurricane Irma. The radar there showing that this will be making a landfall very soon. This is live radar. This radar is really as live as you can get. And there we go. So the radar is showing a lot of interesting things about the system. Number one, a lot of the cyclonic rotation that we're seeing here, it actually lasts. You can see there those thunderstorms. This is all Irma. This is all Irma, and the reason why that is because it's getting wind shear. And since the system is getting wind shear, it's just very resilient, like I've said. And the storm is going to continue to head up north, but you can see there the system just really starting to bring in lots of storm surge, especially into Miami right now. Miami's getting a lot of storm surge, and that storm surge is going to continue in through Miami for quite a while. So waves headed off the coast now. The water actually probably receding for you right now, but as soon as this heads up north and you get the other side of it, that's going to be very, very bad news for you, because the system is just going to slam things into you. But yeah, all that water really starting to pile up on southern Florida. That storm surge just really becoming a problem, and you can see it there. It's just a problem, and you can see where all that storm surge really is going to come in. And the Florida Keys already getting a ton of storm surge. They're probably going to be the ones to get the most devastating impacts, because the land interaction doesn't really weaken it. The Keys don't, because the storm is so large and so powerful that little islands like that really aren't going to cause this system to de-intensify. Still, though, the system is very intense, and is going to probably continue to batter the Keys. Storm surge is going to come in both ways. This side, and then also the other side. The other side is going to be, well, they're already getting the other side. At first they got it like this, and now they're getting it like this. So it's really just a bad situation for the Florida Keys overall, and hopefully everyone is okay. Hopefully everyone did evacuate. Hopefully you are outside of Florida right now, because Irma is relentless and will not allow, and it will not be weakening that easily. And even when it does weaken down to a Category 2 up here, don't be fooled. Still a very powerful hurricane. It's just like Hurricane Arthur, which hit North Carolina. That had some impacts that were pretty devastating. And it's still a Category 4. That's just as strong as Harvey. We remember what Harvey did. And that was in a much larger landmass and over land for a very long time as a low that dumped a lot of rain. But either way, still people are going to be getting quite a bit of rain from this, and this is just going to be overall a problem. If we take a look at the U.S. rainfall potential, um, it's not going to quite be as heavy as Harvey, which was over 2 feet, but you're going to get 10 to 15 inches in these spots as the storm just track up, because although I do doubt that, I think that that rain will really be up the middle of Florida, much closer to up the middle of Florida. But yeah, there's another look at the storm. Very, very powerful and will continue to be powerful for quite a while. If we take a look at the NAM 32 kilometer, uh, you can just see just how powerful this system does get and just how much power these systems can develop. And the power of these systems is something to not scoff at. And that's something that I fear people weren't expecting. Because this is going to be a lot like Charlie of 2004. And we all remember how Charlie went. But Irma is going to be quite a bit like Charlie and do severe impacts to quite a bit of Florida. The only difference really is that Irma is much larger than Charlie, and if I can go there to the to Charlie, just so I can show you. I don't know what date Hurricane Charlie actually occurred. Let me actually look that up, and then we can take a look at Charlie. But while I'm doing that, here's some radar imagery of the system. Top of the next hour, I will have new data for you regarding storm surge, regarding Irma's intensity, its movement, its latitude and longitude, everything regarding Irma, power outages, stuff like that. I don't think that I'm actually going to be changing the power outages or storm surge, though, because the storm surge forecast is really looking exactly the same. So no new data there. The forecast here also probably isn't going to change. Watches and warnings aren't either. What's going to change is the overall intensity, the current status of the hurricane. And so there it is. Now, when we do hit top of the hour next hour, the new data will come out. You'll be able to see the radar loop of the hurricane. But I'm probably going to be gone for just a little bit, and then I'll come right back. So I'll take like a 5-minute break, and then I'll come back, and I'll do that at top of every hour. And so, yeah, there you are with the current stats on Irma. Those stats will be updated in about 20 minutes or so. That'll be when you can see the brand new stats regarding Hurricane Irma and its intensity and its track. But yeah, here I'm gonna look up what day Hurricane Charlie made landfall. Yeah, so there we go. I found it, I think. So there we go. We'll do August 13th. We'll do August 11th. Actually, and we'll do August 11th, 2004. Frames 240 an extra day is 4. And we'll do this. Oh no, this. And there you go. So we can loop that, and you can see there Hurricane Charlie as it did move in. There you go, bam. And that was Charlie, and you can see that other tropical system that also moved in there. Yeah, there it goes. This is another tropical system. And then there's Charlie. Yeah, so Charlie was a pretty crazy hurricane. But yeah, that's Charlie. And now that we have all that, let's see really what Irma's doing. Irma is causing rain throughout almost the entire state of Florida. Almost the entire state of Florida. I mean, this is catastrophic. this is going to be a catastrophic hurricane, no matter what way you look at it. So, um, just be prepared. This hurricane is not going to be very good. I prefer saying Hurricane SpongeBob. Why? Hurricane SpongeBob. Um, I don't understand why you said that. Unless it's like a reference referring to maybe the way the hurricane looks on radar or something. Alright, well, I'm just gonna blow over that. Sorry, Hyperfire, I don't really understand what you're trying to do there. But now continuing with Hurricane Irma. Here is the satellite and radar, and this thing is approaching landfall. I mean, landfall is inevitable. It's gonna be happening like any minute now, don't you think? It's just nuts. But I don't know much else to say other than you need to prepare and that you need to get down right now. Let's take a look at some National Hurricane Center data regarding Hurricane Irma. So first of all, getting into wind speed probabilities. This is tropical storm force wind speed probabilities. So you can see that's a 90% and above tropical storm force wind probability, and that is nuts. Just how much of Florida is in that 90% plus probability. And then here is powerful tropical storm. This is strong tropical storm force wind speeds. Then this is hurricane force wind speed probabilities. You can see there those hurricane force wind speeds. Pretty nuts. Let's see what the wind speed probabilities really have been. And there's Jose. You can see Jose there. Actually, in that loop, because they are getting so close to each other. So as this moves out, Jose's gonna move in. So, hopefully it's not too much. Let's see what the United States tornado potential is going to be according to the Storm Prediction Center. So if I look at their meso-analysis, I'm gonna meso-analyze this area. So you can see here's just current conditions. You can already see there that those isobars that I was telling you about earlier are very close to each other, meaning very high wind speeds. And those are those black bars you can see there. But let's see here. There is not much terrain here to stop this. And then here are the here's the SPC's Day 1 outlook and the Weather Service's watches and warnings regarding the system. So first of all, we see this. We see this giant tornado watch that includes quite a bit of Florida. Quite a bit of Florida. The hurricane looks like Sri Lanka. How? I'm confused. Okay. So there it is, that tornado watch. That's going to remain in effect for quite some time, I would imagine, because of this hurricane's capabilities, its sheer capabilities of just producing tornadoes. You can see that's going to be exclusively in this northeastern quadrant right here, and you can see those tornado warnings in there. You won't see any in any of these other quadrants here. You'll only see it at around this block. But if it did, even if it headed inland, you would never ever see, you'll never ever see tornado warnings on this side. So basically, I guess if we do the quadrant kind of thing, you can see there the quadrants. You're safe from tornadoes right now, Florida, if you're around this area, unless it's like this. Let's get back to the satellite and radar, and you can see there new radar imagery, new satellite imagery showing this getting much, much closer. And there you go with some more 1 minute satellite imagery from our friends over at RAM. And you can see there just the approach to land. This is an approach to landfall, folks. I would not be surprised if within the next 45 minutes or so we do see a landfall. In the next hour. We don't have very long until the system does make its primary landfall onto Florida. If we actually just refresh this and see just how close it's getting, that eye is really starting to collapse there. And it's probably going to continue to collapse as it does get super close to land. New data, though, regarding its intensity and stuff will be coming out in the next hour, at least by me. The Hurricane Center, I don't think will have a new advisory for still a little while yet, but I will be updating you on my personal opinion on intensity and wind speed. So if you do have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know, and I will be more than glad to answer those. I am hoping that I can help anyone out that needs it. If you're in the path of this hurricane, just hunker down. It's there's no use in trying to not hunker down and trying to ride it out without hunkering down. And there's no use in even trying to ride it out hunkering down if you're close to the center of circulation, which, because it's just going to be a catastrophe. This is just a catastrophic situation. And if I look at some webcams there, let's see if I can find any. Let's see what Miami's looking like. It's not what I want. I want webcams. But there's one in Miami. You can see there, that was 11 hours ago. Here's another webcam in Miami. This is 7 minutes ago. You can see all those clouds there, just it's really starting to go in. And those, wind speeds are just going to get particularly intense. And what about the forecast for this location? But yeah, this is just very, very powerful. This is just a problem that is going to continue throughout this storm's life. Now you can see all kinds of cameras there showing you what exactly everything's looking like right now. But yeah, so just this is nuts. You can see on those webcams that it's not looking good. High waves there. Look at those waves at Port St. Lucie. Those are from Hurricane Irma, and we're just going to continue to watch this as it does head up. But yeah, still the tornado watch remaining in effect, and that storm surge probably just nuts around Miami. I bet there's a very high storm surge right now, very, very high waves, and still my my timer is broken. I don't understand why, but it's frustrating. There we go, I fixed it. But, yeah, let's see. Alright. Well, Hyperfire saying, subscribe to Microcasting St. Louis. Okay, well, thank you for telling people to do that. Yeah, if you do enjoy this, please do subscribe. It does support me quite a bit. We're approaching 100 subscribers here. That would be insane if I could get into the triple digits. We'll see what happens here, but Hurricane Irma is still the main star of the show. The hurricane is just going to be making a landfall any minute now, and it's not going to be good. So if I go to really just where we're at right now, we'll just reload that. But yeah, this is just a problem. And here's some more weather radar for you to see. Oh, that's a problem. We'll go back to that. Yeah, sorry about that. I guess I just dumb messed up. There you go. Now you can see radar again, just like you could before. But yeah, we're approaching top of the next hour, and at that time, I will be showing brand new information on this hurricane's intensity and just where it's going to go. So here's what I expect right now. I expect it to. Did I see in that last frame this thing kind of take an eastward wobble? I think I may have. That would be great news for those areas in Florida. I think I did see an eastward wobble. That may be just a trick of the imagery, but I'm pretty sure that's an eastward wobble. Here, let me follow it. Here, let's see, that would be a straight line, and, no, it does. It seems like on the final frame we may have an eastward wobble. That would be excellent news. But we'll just see. Still, though, this hurricane, a very dangerous hurricane, and will continue to remain a danger to the entire state of Florida, for quite a while, and, I don't understand why, but this is struggling to, show the radar correctly. Here, let me just, reload that. There we go. Much better. Much better. And there you go. You can see the radar data there. Let's go over the past 12 hours, shall we? We might as well. Look at that. This is over the past 12 hours what the radar has been like. So over the past 12 hours, it's been quite the excitement, especially for Key West. Key West got battered, just got battered by this, and you can just see on that radar there just where this is expected to go. So well, the structure was looking much better, and then I think Key West. Yeah, Key West radar shut down. That's what happened. Yeah, Key West radar shut down. They must have just been getting way too much. But yeah, that's pretty insane. God, meteorology's still showing it as a full-fledged. But not this. This is just crazy. I really do wish that this wasn't happening right now. Oh, what the heck? It didn't really, like, bounce back. It literally bounced right back to that time before. Alright, well, this is not going to be used as radar anymore. This will just be what we use. So, still the storm headed in with storm surge. The storm still bringing waves and water away from there. Cuba still getting a lot of problems from the system. Probably got devastating impacts from a Category 5 landfall. And then it just is going to track up and strike. So, yeah, it's just a catastrophe. Just a catastrophe. And it's going to continue to be a catastrophe for more or less the rest of this storm's life. Um, but yeah, the storm, I'm almost done with a brand new, update for those that are wondering. So here we are now with, this. So, there you go. So, I'm almost finished up with it. And that brand new data will be coming to you regarding the storm very, very shortly. There we are. Um, so, there we go. So, I'll actually just update you with the new information right now. There we go. So, you probably just now got to see the brand new information. There it is. Right there for you. And, still the hurricane being pretty nutso. Um, this is just going to be a crazy landfall. Crazy landfall. Gonna be crazy. You're gonna watch this thing. It's gonna go up the entire coast of Florida. You don't see that very often. But yeah, it's just, it's kind of crazy that we're seeing something a lot like Hurricane Charlie of 2004 again, especially after Harvey. It's kind of a coincidence that we see two very powerful hurricanes hitting the United States within 2 weeks of each other. And it's just going to continue to be an issue. All National Guard members are active at this time. There are none reserved or anything. These hurricanes are just really leading the state of Texas and the state of Florida into a catastrophe. And then we have Hurricane Jose, which could also lead to a problem with the United States as it does head up. It's expected to head through the Bahamas and then recurve. So I'm not sure if it's going to recurve out to sea, if it's going to recurve into the Carolinas, or where it's really going to recurve to. But either way, it does look like the Bahamas will be getting an impact from not just Irma, but also Jose, which is already done a near miss to the Leeward Islands that were just devastated by Hurricane Irma, which is about to devastate the United States, because the damage here is just going to be so surreal and so unfortunate that I'm not really sure what much more there's to say about this than just hunker down, get ready, the worst of it is about to come, and hopefully everything will turn out okay. Here's something interesting. I did find this gap here. That looks like a gap of dry air. That is dry air that has been entrained into the center of the storm and will probably continue to hinder the storm's development. As it does make landfall, and will probably hinder it from strengthening too much as it does make landfall. Still, though, that northwestern quadrant about to hit the United States, and that is going to be the part of it that's just absolutely devastating. So, there you are with the current data on radar there. So now we are back to current data when it comes to Doppler radar. On this, I think, nicer looking Doppler radar map. But there you are with just what realistically we've been seeing over the past 12 hours. So this is the past 12 hours, and Florida's already been getting battered by it, and the worst is yet to come, and will probably be coming around here within the next half an hour or so. Unfortunately, this landfall is just about to happen. And yeah, Irma, now a Category 4 hurricane, is about to strike the United States. And it's sad and very, very unfortunate. That's really all I do have to say about that. Alright, well, we are now at top of the hour here. It is currently 11 o'clock Central Daylight Time. So, at this time, I'm going to go and just take a 5-minute break or so, get some information ready for you guys. And, yeah, I will be back. Alrighty, I am back, and ready for more, and ready to just show you guys what exactly is going on at this time. So here's what we're currently looking at. We're currently looking at Hurricane Irma. This is a very dangerous hurricane, a Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, with winds of what I would personally consider to be 140 miles per hour. And the storm is still headed up and about to strike the Tampa area, going into the National Hurricane Center. NHC. We'll be able to see that and just take a look at what they're thinking. Still thinking a minimal Category 4 hurricane at this current advisory, and I currently still think that this is a kind of a odd kind of thing. The advisory and the way that the Hurricane Center has been issuing their tropical storm warning and hurricane warnings for the coastline. So, more tropical storm warnings now in effect, according to the NHC, for the Bahamas. Very surprising to me. Here's what I don't understand. It even says on their advisory that there are tropical storm force winds in Cuba. Why is there a hurricane warning and not a tropical storm warning throughout more of Cuba? And why are these islands under a tropical storm warning? I would understand these two, but why these? These don't need it. This needs it, and the southern part of Cuba needs it. And guess what else needs a hurricane warning? This part of Florida. And this part needs a tropical storm warning. And this part already needs a hurricane. Yeah, my goodness, their watches and warnings are kind of ridiculous to me. But you know what? They're kind of having to rush to get these done due to the fact that they are in a time crunch, and they have quite a few storms to kind of issue advisories on and things like that. Still though, here is the latest on Hurricane Irma. Here, the tornado watch stuff has changed a little bit. The other tornado watch has now been canceled, and a new one has now gone out into effect regarding Hurricane Irma. These as tornadoes are expected throughout the storm, as it is about to probably make a landfall into Florida. The storm here still just pretty crazy and pretty nutso. The storm is just going to continue to head up Florida. The system here is looking still fairly sharp in my opinion. I think that the system is going to head up and still make that landfall into Florida. You can see on that satellite imagery though, that little wobble that I was talking about on radar 2. But these storms do wobble, so I would not be surprised if the eye of the storm did just wobble a little bit more. Either way though, I think that's the end of the wobble, and it still is going to go straight into Florida here any minute now. I think that the landfall is not that far away. Now updating it here. Let's just see where exactly we are at. So we are at 607, so 13, we'll do 1207. And there we go. So, this is just going to be the latest imagery of Hurricane Irma. Let's take a look at wind shear actually, and just go a little bit more in depth on where exactly this wind shear is going to be. So here's the 5-day movie of Hurricane Irma, and there it is. So there you go. You can see there Hurricane Irma, and you can see there was Hurricane Katrina, which had not even lasted for like 5 days. And then we also just have Hurricane Jose, which has been here forever. Then we also do have the tropical storm that is Jose. Jose hasn't even been around for 5 days. That's actually kind of crazy. But yeah, there's Irma, and then there's Jose, and there's Katrina. So still a very interesting setup, at least in my personal opinion. And will continue to probably be interesting for us all. Here is the satellite imagery here now of Irma again, and you can see there that I was trying to clear out, and now it is becoming cloud covered, and you can see there really starting to get close to land. You can see they're really close to Florida. So yeah, very close to Florida. Um, the system is. And you can see there just the system kind of starting here, going up here, and then just taking that turn up to the north just a little bit more. And then here we are. Did it take that eastward wobble that I was thinking? It looks as if that might have been a trick of the imagery. No, it was not. You can see there that eastward wobble again. So there it is going up. Still going up. And there it was, the shift. There was one shift. And there was another shift. But yes, still the hurricane is looking very sharp, if I do not say so myself. And will probably continue to look pretty sharp as it does head up. Florida system, we're now just waiting for it to make landfall, which is just sad that we even have to talk about it, a landfall like this, because this is a just devastating landfall. Just devastating. And then there you are with some more information from Windy. Still the radar there, and now very close to landfall, If I take a look at the ECMWF, this is probably where it would want it to be. It wants it to take a farther eastward jog, but it's actually going to take just direct northward hit, I'm pretty sure, into Florida. So it's just bad. There's the Hurricane Center Advisory, and there it is, some more radar for you. And you can see there the structure, the core, we're nearly there. We're nearly at that point where it's going to get crazy. But I guess while we wait for Irma to make its landfall, let's just talk about what exactly with Irma, and just take a look at Irma's entire life. I would personally find that to be interesting. So we can just take a look at that while we are waiting for Irma's eventual catastrophic landfall. Let's just talk about Irma throughout its entire life. I don't think that's Irma. No. That is potential tropical cyclone. That was potential tropical cyclone? Guess it was. It wasn't, it was a different hurricane. But either way, there's potential tropical cyclone one. There's Irma. So here it is now, beginning to form up that eye. And you can just see it really starting to ramp up in intensity, going through another eye wall replacement cycle, the eye coming out, then going through another eye wall replacement cycle, then the eye coming out, then it going through another eye wall replacement cycle, then the eye coming out and going through another eye wall replacement cycle, then the eye coming out and going through another eye wall replacement cycle, and then here's where it just went nuts and became that Category 5 hurricane. And then after that, it continued to go crazy and be this Category 5 monster of a hurricane, and continued to peak in intensity before it did start to gradually weaken due to wind shear and land interaction, before weakening to a Category 4 and re-strengthening to a Category 5 before striking Cuba. After it struck Cuba, it went up, and it's now headed up towards Florida, where it really is destined to go. But yeah. That's where we're expecting this to go, and we can expect it to go in this general direction for quite a while. Just to the north. North, north, north. There we go. So here's the Storm Prediction Center's hourly mesoscale stuff. So let's take a look at this is 4 hours ago. This is 2 hours ago. This is 1 hour ago. This is future. This is the future. 2 hours later. Look at this. You can see though that weather model showing it headed straight in. So now let's take a look at the HRRR, High Resolution Rapid Refresh. See what it thinks about Irma. This is where we're at right now. It shows 962, which is definitely not the case. It shows this thing headed up the Florida coast. Still is a hurricane. And just showing this thing weakening rather rapidly, but only showing it getting up to 965 in hectopascals, which is bad news. Bad news. And then here is the wharf. Not the H wharf, just the wharf. Showing them both the hurricanes. Showing the wind field of Irma just being gigantic. Absolutely massive. Absolutely massive. And then there we are with weather radar. If I can take a look at the weather service, or we can just take a look at the telecast. There we go. There it is. This is just going to be a landfall any minute now. Any minute now. We'll see the landfall. And there we are with the system. So let's see what else we can take a look at. We can take a look at MSLP, or mean sea level pressure. We can take a look at the theta. Vorticity. There you go, high vorticity. Wind. Stations. Pressure falls. Theta E. Supercell composite. Supercell composite is crazy! Look at that! That's nuts! It's a lot of supercell composite. Temperature. Streamlines. Let's see what Cape's looking like. Cape's gonna be the limiting factor. If there was lots of Cape here with us, well, we'd see this thing be nuts. Here we are, almost 11:20, 20 minutes into the hour, looking at this hurricane that is a particularly dangerous situation right now, for Florida, for basically the entire state of Florida, and it's just been something that you can't, really, stop. It's just going to continue on into Florida. Now, I'm going to just take a look at a little bit more analysis for this hurricane, and if I take a look at it, this is water vapor. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this dry air. Y'all see that. The yellow is dry air, the blue and the greens are moist air. And look at what this dry air is doing. This dry air is really starting to get into the circulation and is really starting to intrude on the storm. Does this look familiar to you? This looks familiar to me. It's only on one side and it's nowhere near as powerful. But this is something that Hurricane Matthew of last year also had to fight. But yeah, the circumstances for this hurricane are just still pretty bad, and the circumstances that we're going to continue to see are also kind of bad. So going back here, I'm going to take a look at some data stuff. Let's see what this is. This is radar. This is some other radar. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, now tell me that's not insane. Tell me that's not a powerful looking hurricane. Because you can see that eye really starting to clear out. You can see those little bits of precipitation starting to clear out as this eye is really starting to strike. And this is where I'm expecting it to go. Just extrapolating this and looking at the steering currents. Something like this. The landfall will be any minute now. Got a couple hours. But the landfall is long approaching. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say at this point regarding Hurricane Irma. Alright, well, I do hope you did like this live stream. If you did, hit the like button down below. If you didn't, hit the dislike button, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye!